My wife actually was a public school teacher, so that was never an option for us to send our children to the government for their education, because we knew better. Because here's what I know is not the case. God was not in heaven, in the 1870s when we started this whole fiasco of mandatory government education in the United States. He was not in heaven calling the angels around going, y'all, come here. Look at this. They're doing schools. Why didn't I think of that? You say, I hear this from people all the time. And they say, well, wait a minute. How can you stand there and say that? You went to the government schools. You turned out okay. I hear that. People have actually come up to me and said that. Doesn't that refute your own argument? Well, first of all, I'm not okay. Amen. I'm not okay. And even the semblance of okayism that you see in me is really mostly a result of the time we spent educating our children at home. It wasn't until then that I really began to be educated myself. Have you met the angry new home educator? They're brand new and they're mad. What's the matter? I'm teaching my children and I realize I know nothing. I didn't learn anything. They didn't teach me this stuff. By the time my kid's like 5th grade, he'll know more than I knew through my whole education. What am I going to do? I'm angry. All together now. What about? I love when people ask me that question. People go, do you worry about socialization? I go, oh yeah, big time. That's why we homeschool. There was one beneficial social skill that I learned in the government school. That was how to stand in line. If you have enough kids, you can teach that one at home too. Then she had an issue with this Deuteronomy passage. And I talked about this Deuteronomy passage again because she raised questions about the Deuteronomy passage. I said, what do you do with that? Teach them to your children, talk to them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. What do you do with that? This woman who had an advanced graduate degree in education, who was a leader in the school system in this one particular city, looks at me and says, well, I've always thought that those were non-school hours. Huh? Yeah, I believe in Deuteronomy 6, and these parents need to do that Deuteronomy 6 stuff, but that's for non-school hours. For real? First of all, where do you see that in the text? Secondly, what school was Moses sending his kids to? In the words of that Texas theologian, Dr. Phil, how's that working for you? Here's the problem. She doesn't understand the difference between schooling and education. She thinks school is something that you turn off and turn on, and that happens at a certain place during a certain time. She doesn't realize that education is discipleship. We're always educating our children. Can't even go to the grocery store. You go to the grocery store during school hour with your kids, and all of a sudden people are looking like, well, what's wrong? How come your kids are not in school? And they look real crazy when you look at them and go, oh, they are, and just keep shopping. We're talking about home-based discipleship, not just education that's been transferred to a different place. It's different. We don't just do what the government does in a different location. And for you people who are new to home education, let me just say that again. We don't just do what the government does in a different location. That's not what this is all about. This is not about that place being the wrong place for education to happen, though that is true. It's also that philosophy of education being completely and utterly bankrupt. So don't bring that philosophy of education home. We are about home-based discipleship.